We're finally back to some fighting game content, and like I said in my community post, I do not know what took me so long to take a look at these Tekken 8 outfits. They are in a whole nother dimension, like a whole league of their own. So pumped to take a look at these and just gush over the aesthetics. So let's not waste any time and talk about this Tekken 8 fashion. Hola, my name is X, and I like to experiment with fashion as well as talk about whatever the hell I want on social media whenever I feel like it. And in this video, no agenda necessary, we're going to get straight into talking about these Tekken 8 looks for about 31 characters, including some alternate outfits though, because there's such a wide variety and diversity of range of style for us to evaluate and get into that it's going to take up enough time as is. But a couple notes on the Tekken 8 fashion in general. I love the attention to detail, or maybe just the high resolution rendering of this game. We get to really see the different materials and fabrics come to life in these various outfits in so many different ways. Such a great blend of textures and materials just to really make intricate, detailed, and elaborate looks for us to unpack and appreciate as we just really, I'm sure as you play the game, I'm not going to have any like clips in this one because it was hard to find any, but like we'll have plenty of stills to really take a look at and unpack. And on that note of detail, there are great belt and buckle like accessories and just decorations across all these different outfits. It's incredible how something as simple as some harness, belt, buckle, straps, whether on jackets, shirts, pants, whatever, it just really elevates looks in such an effortless way. Effortlessly cool, effortlessly chic, and I don't know why more clothing in our real world doesn't feature that. Like, it doesn't have to even be in an alternative way. It just looks really well applied and complementary to a number of different personal styles across these characters. But anyway, like I said, I want to get straight into these looks because there's plenty to uncover. So let's talk about the Tekken 8 fighter fashion. Starting with Lidia, and I've said multiple times how I'm not always the biggest fan of martial arts looks, but obviously about hers, and like I've celebrated in other characters, is just the different kind of color blocking that we have going on, different chunks of pattern and color, just to really help us better appreciate this outfit and maybe even a bit of her personal style and personality. And I think I particularly love the undershirt that she has. It just kind of shimmers through, has a little bit of a metallic texture, and I think even just has like maybe a scaled texture as well, or sequin. So it just really helps add a little extra pop and a little extra touch of femininity to an otherwise kind of tough fighter look. And the only other look of hers that I wanted to highlight is like this formal look. It almost looks a little business casual, but there's so many great layers going on. We have a turtleneck, and then a button down layered on top, and then a blazer or a jacket layered on top of that. Great pinstripe pants, and the heels are plenty feminine. So it just feels like a nice, strong, assertive, semi-masculine look. But then we have nice kind of dainty details like the necklace, like the shoes, that just really balance out some of that gender expression and really give her a nice touch of femininity. So the only reason that I'm featuring King at all is because of this suit right here. Like, I don't like the other kind of wrestler. I don't even really like the helmet. It just really throws me off. But this suit is crazy. Like, so many great patterns and just designs coming together on a black suit that pops. Orange and purple can be a little complementary in some ways. And so I just feel like that has a great relationship here. Just enough detail in there to bring this look to life. Kazuya's default outfit is, oh my gosh, like a long trench style coat and just great texture. Just great, like snake skin or some sort of reptilian texture to it, and then the lapels are even a bit different. Love the deep purple. It even seems like we're getting some purple, red, and black, which we know is a badass combination. We already know that goes to some of the baddest in the world. There's just great texture and elaboration on a very formal look that still feels kind of rugged and tough. And even the lining of the jacket has some great elaborate detail as well. There's just so much great attention to detail in the jacket. Lars's outfit, wow. Like, I mean, I said I wasn't going to do the rating system on this because I mean, everything's pretty much like crushing it, but this is like knocked the hell out right now. Like, what is happening? Like, just look at that coat. Like, just look at it. So many great belt and buckle details, double lapel situation going on, the tails or the extensions of the jacket just with a little bit of the cutout, and even further belt and buckle details. And even though it's a bit of an armored boot, it's like the armor doesn't really dominate. Gold details just to really further highlight the opulence and sophistication and significance of this character. Like, wow. And speaking of armored, and I even do appreciate this alternative kind of like black armor suit. He does have a version of his default outfit that is also sleeveless, but I like this one because it just looks like more of a full body suit. And I like how it's almost an inverse of that new default one that we saw, where it just feels a little more rugged, a little more assassin, a little darker, a lot darker. Shows a great like flex and range for what this character can accomplish and how he can be depicted. So I'm really only featuring martial law because of this look. Like, the other looks are just kind of like pants, and I'm not even really blown away by that. This one is just so suave. Once again, just enough sprinkle of some pattern in there to kind of give us a little bit of cultural significance, an effortlessly chic outfit. Great silky texture in the shirt. The shoes are sharp, and I like that it's a bit more of like a beige or an off-white, just to kind of help differentiate the palette a little bit. And just even the top has some great little slit of body confidence. Love a shirt that can kind of peek all the way through and let us see what's going on underneath, but it still is so well covered up for like a night out type of look. So practical, so real world, and the sunglasses and the bracelets, everything. Even though Paul's is a really rugged, I love all the great texture going on, all the great texture play, accessorizing that this character is pulling off. It's giving Nomad Leathers from Cyberpunk 2077, coming fresh off of an analysis there. The jacket is great. A lot of really detailed kind of patchwork, which I feel like also exudes a bit of personality related to the character. A nice kind of bag, or at least some utility elements. Plenty of like band and buckle details on the pants, with some even studded elements as well. Love the scarf, love some of the distress of the sweater, love the boots, like, and I even like this one. Really love a little bit of the asymmetry with the jacket. Red and white striped lapels with the like star-spangled knee pad. Like, just love the kind of incorporation of the kind of flag in this without being so in your face and like over the top. It just still feels like subtly patriotic, subtly American, but with enough kind of rugged old black ensemble just to really kind of push him in another aesthetic and direction altogether. So Jin's jacket is great. A simple kind of biker style jacket that, I mean, a few of the characters have had so far or will continue to have, but just enough of an interesting, unique pattern to make it truly his. And I like a few of the kind of different types of gloves that the characters have had. It has like some studded gloves, and in his case coordinates perfectly with the jacket. Love the shirt that he has underneath. It's a little bit of a scoop neck. Love a scoop neck. We've seen this across many characters to give us some great body confidence in the chest. And I love the kind of banded elements around the legs as well. And the boots are simple but cool. And I believe this might have been like a historical Tekken outfit, and I'm sure I've already like touched on some like Tekken 7 or previous outfits that these characters have had, but I love this hooded look as well. And I don't think I see like, and it's almost like a full jumpsuit but with a hood. Great zip down to show some body confidence, and then the arms with like those red details and even a little bit of like metallics. It just is such a nice blend between something that has something defensive like armor, but then something that's very practical and everyday. Like, I actually want this hooded jumpsuit. Like, it just looks so cool and greatly textured. Reina's greatest strength here is her jacket, and I've mentioned, it's this very subtle detail, but I've mentioned how I love when a jacket zips from both ends, from the top and the bottom. Love when a jacket does that. And then even there's some additional zipper elements on the sleeves, but just love the asymmetry in the color overall. And it just coordinates perfectly with her hair. And the fact that it has a hood is so cool. But then I really love her socks, and how her socks have like the band or buckle elements around them as well. It's just such a simple look. It feels a little futuristic, but feels very now. Like, I could see someone wearing that for a cool street style look. But then I had to talk about this casual outfit moment. Like, effortlessly stylish. Like, she's not doing too much here. A simple cheetah or leopard print cardigan and some distressed pants and some boots and some glasses. Like, so simple. You don't have to do too much to look stylish. Like, it's not that hard. And I just love when a character is like rocking something so simple and everyday, but it just looks nicely elevated with all the proper coordination and structure. All right, Victor, I'm going to try to behave myself. So fresh. Looks so good. Zaddy vibes, obviously. Like, I have to at least go there. A nice fresh three-piece suit, and I love the kind of grayish color to it. And then the purple tie is just absolutely like just a nice pop of color. And just all that complemented by some like fighter utility elements. It just heightens this and just takes it to a whole nother level. Usually we see like fighters in some suit alternate outfits, but not with all of these interesting kind of lethal elements involved. Obsessed. But then this alternate look, like, wow, just so effortlessly stylish, right? Like, especially for an older man, goodness gracious. And I love the shirt. Like, the fact that some of the stripes have a little bit more of like a metallic sheen to them, it just feels so expensive. He just feels like pure unadulterated money. And the cool sunglasses consistently just to really top that off, like, he's got it going on. Devil's jacket is so strong. Like, these jackets are crazy in this game. Really love the wider sleeves that he has. That's a little bit of a bit more unique touch to his look. Just with some great kind of collar and lapel details layered and stacked, which just adds further great kind of dimension and depth. That's what I was looking for. Depth for us to kind of dive into. Love the details on the trim of the jacket and just some of the different kind of color pattern and design going on. And I really love the tails of the jacket. It almost just looks like they're a little disconnected. Plenty of drama and intrigue. And of course, there's some great lining to the jacket and coat as well. Whoa, is this a previous like installment look? Talk about bands and buckles. Whoa. Wow. Just absolutely wow. Like, just love the crisscross perpendicular relationship with all of those different bands and buckles. Great kind of peaks of color with a little bit of like the empty hollow spaces between all those straps. And I love the asymmetry with the shoes. Like, wow. And even this one, asymmetry is apparently a good name of the game for this guy in some regards. And I like how there's actually some chain, like actual chains around one leg, and how one leg even has a little more texture than the other. But then we have that great flame design, some body confidence, great texture with the lining of the jacket and that fur. Just wow. So what I wanted to say about Alisa's style is that I really appreciate the sprinkles of black that we get in her outfit to not make her completely cotton candy. Not that there would have been a problem if she was completely like bubblegum, cotton candy, cutesy, playful, ethereal kind of character and overall aesthetic. But just with a little bit extra bits of black just gives her that edge. I've said this a few times. And in general, she just has really great layering and cascading fabric to her outfit. And she even has some little kind of like bow and flower and like fur type accessories in the mix. Just enough variety of decoration and elaboration in her style. Really like this one. And I really enjoy the blend between some of that armored cybernetic kind of component. It feels very futuristic with something that has the typical kind of structure and silhouette of a little bit more of like a formal gown or dress, especially with all those ruffles and kind of creases and pleats going on. A really interesting blend in aesthetic that I haven't seen, that maybe we see maybe more like in a Honkai or like some sort of futuristic anime girl cutesy look, but to kind of see it here in something that's a little bit more woman, more mature, more kind of fighter-esque. Really like this. Lee's bodysuit, it's a little bit along the lines of that armored kind of like, have we seen this before? Yes, we have. It just feels like it has so many different patches throughout, and just, again, incredible attention to detail that just makes it feel so much more diverse in its components than a lot of flatter kind of bodysuits like this could look. That in combination with just the utility elements. And maybe it's just the color purple that I'm biased towards. The purple and the black with a little bit of the kind of maybe luminescent blue details just makes it so much more engaging. So really digging that. The boots are cool, of course. And I like the goggles. I feel like that just really tops off something that feels a little more futuristic. But love to see him in something formal like this. Like, again, just great to see something that goes from one extreme to the next. Full flex and range and style to show that maybe a character is not just one dimensional. Yep, I think we're getting more fur on like the lapel or the lining and collar of the jacket. Like, just great. And I love the asymmetry with all of that gold detail and pattern on one side. And just the suit underneath is incredible. And the shoes, just with the gold detail on the toe, it just like so many subtle details that these developers put into these looks that it's just like chef's freaking kiss over here. Zafina is pure wow. Like, I love a mystical type character, and she once again has some purple, black, and red in the mix. We already know how badass that is. And just all of the belt and buckle details with some lace and or like fishnet kind of cuts and pieces in her suit as well. And really just love her form fit silhouette. The little bit of red fabric around the waist just gives some nice drama and movement. Plenty of gold detailing mixed within to not make it feel so kind of borderline rugged, assassin-esque. Gives it a little bit more of that elevated, luxurious, mystical touch. But I think that this is her look from Tekken 7, and I love this. Wow. Just the asymmetry, loving all the asymmetry that we're getting across these characters. It just almost feels a little sheer. Feels a little bit more like we're closer to her skin, which is super sexy, but it doesn't show any of the skin. Like, this is a great way to depict the beauty of the female body in just like a slightly different way that's elevated, sophisticated, and enclosed, but we still just feel like she's giving so much allure and sexiness. And then love, again, just the additional gold details that she has sprinkled throughout, just enough to show that she's a high class lady. And I like this bodysuit moment. Like, here we're getting more skin, including a good peek of the cleavage with some body confidence. But just the red, she can pull off so many different colors. And I like there's a little bit more of a mix of silver in this case. I think it's more silver. So she just has the full range of style covered. She's one of the most chic fashion girlies, I'd say, in this whole collection so far. What I want to say about Shaheen is that he gives a little bit of that Prince of Persia fantasy, but still with something that feels a little bit kind of urban streetwear, kind of day-to-day outfit and style. A bit more beyond Rashid from Street Fighter. I feel like his was a little bit more like on the nose, and I just feel like his color palette's definitely darker, which just gives us more of that kind of edgy, rough and tough mode. And I feel like the pants could have maybe used a little bit more detail, to be honest with you, just to kind of complement all the great detail that we're getting around his headwear and his shoulders and upper body. But in general, I just like the detail that we are getting on the fabrics and the cloths that do compose his upper body. This even feels like we're getting a blend between something that's like cultural, Middle East, but also something elevated and sophisticated at that. So what a great blend, just also with some of that kind of gold hardware and then leather kind of harness details, holster details, like, wow. But love this. Something that's a little more silky and suave. And love just the black and white with the gold. Like, just so high level chic. He doesn't have to do too much. Like, it's just pairing these really expensive items together. Nothing too elaborate with the styling. I mean, the clothing items are statement enough as is, and they're doing all of the work within themselves. Like, such a great lesson. If you have the money to save up for some quality items like this, pair it together. This is an easy statement. You can wear it in and out, and you are the star of the show, especially paired with a nice pair of sunglasses. Sergei's color palette initially was kind of like, ugh, he looks like a zombie. It's just so muted and dull. But what he makes up for with that is that incredible jacket or coat. Like, so again, great texture inside and out. Just feels so soft. So a nice kind of contrast to maybe what seems like a kind of cold, dark, tough personality. Something that's softer and a little bit more comfortable and cozy. But then it seems like he's also wearing a Henley, and I love a Henley shirt. So casual, but it's like easily elevated casual, because just with the button details going on. And then even the coat has some great kind of quilted padded lining. It's just really the coat and all those hardware details and belt buckle details on top of it. I will say I have to appreciate this look as well. It could have just been like the camouflage, but once again, he just has that strong signature statement coat with the fur components and quilted lining that just easily elevates it and just makes it feel so much more interesting than what kind of like a psyops kind of scoping fighter combat person could look like. And it just really helps kind of keep the camouflage in check. And I debated, but even this one, it feels a little more officer oriented, but it's just the beret with the longer jacket and then the tie. Like, it just feels a little different and brought out of what a typical, once again, uniform like this could look. Leo, oh my gosh, like, it's these belt and buckle details. Like, I need to stop repeating it, but it's hard not to when it's like in your face and done so well. That jacket is just incredible. I want it so badly. It just, oh my God, it just draws you in. It adds depth. It adds incredible elaboration, decoration, movement. And I like the gloves. They're a little bit longer than typical. And I like that the sleeves are rolled up. I like a little bit of the kind of utility elements around the legs and the jeans. And the boots are just, oh my gosh, like everything is just so well coordinated. I have not really seen anything like this. And this feels a little bit like investigator officer type look, and I've said how like you can have this aesthetic, but just kind of bring us out of that norm. And this absolutely does. Like, the jacket is a little bit different. It has some layering to it and a little bit more dimension just between the sleeves and the rest of the body of the coat. The lining has some great detail, and just the suspenders and the tie combination with a little bit of that kind of gold hardware, maybe utility element that's around the belt and the waist. And then even the hat is cool. Like, just such subtle ways to just elevate this and make it feel new and fresh. And love this. Like, these belt and buckle details are insane. With a cropped jacket, and then even the top underneath goes full like turtleneck moment with some fur all the way around the neck. And those ball and chain, like, oh, what is happening? Like, oh my gosh, I have like maybe a new aesthetic that I'm aspiring to. Whoa. I like that, similar to Billy from King of Fighters, that Steve is giving us full unapologetic UK. Like, I wonder where he's from. Take a guess. But it still feels like the specific clothing items within themselves just so sharp. Like, a great button up with a nice strong statement jacket over top with some chain details. And then of course, I like that it's more suspender details around the legs than just like belt and buckle. So he's just really giving me Billy vibes, but like just more sharp and elevated and new. Really like this one because it screams Diesel. Anytime I see like a little bit more kind of utility, especially olive jacket, for some reason, I just think Diesel, especially if there's some fur also in the mix. And just with those bright yellow kind of bands around the leg and the jeans, and even the shirt just feels a little more deeper V with some interesting accessory. And then the sneakers, like, it just feels so progressive streetwear, which is also, I think, a nice kind of contrast to something that was also a little bit kind of casual, but a little bit more elevated in his default. I debated on if I wanted to cover Yoshimitsu, just because this does feel a little bit more kind of like traditional, interesting, armored samurai type situation, ninja-esque, but I think it's really just those armored elements in the upper body that are just so, I've never seen anything like it. Like, it just feels so layered, great texture. Love the relationship between the colors, very sharp, and it just really stands out. It's just so vibrant and just really high saturation against like the black boots and pants. But I mean, even the other designs are kind of cool. And in this case, we have some really interesting luminescent details. Feels much more alien, which is kind of like, and takes me out of it a little bit. Not so much fashion, but still interesting. And this one is just like crazy. Almost feels demigod, like he's gone full like spiritual, like deity situation. Wow, it's really the gold details and just like those almost kind of wing, borderline like halo elements towards the back. Like, wow. Wasn't sure if I was gonna cover Feng's default, but honestly, just based on the strong asymmetry, number one, But then just the elaboration on that decorated and clothed side is honestly next level. Like, even though this is also giving a little bit of like a style and a cultural structure and framework and composition that we've seen before, it's just the level of decoration with the gold hardware, especially like the studs and that big dragon on the shoulder, and even really the intricate detail to design with the pattern. Why I really wanted to cover him is because of this suit right here. I mean, it's not all the time that I'm gonna celebrate just a standard suit, maybe outside of Victor, just because he looks so good in his default, but this one has more of that sheen to it that just feels so much more alive and just really kind of lights things up. And I like a little bit of the subtle difference in texture between his vest and his jacket and pants. It just helps give some differentiation to his overall aesthetic. And that overall black pattern feels like it even has a little bit of texture to it as well. Like has a little bit more surface, embossed almost, if like, for lack of a better word to use. I don't know if it's Azucena or Azucena, but obviously love it. It's giving like jogger, workout athleisure chic, but just like whole new level, especially with the patterns. Great use of color, the bold red, just to really give like a strong, fiery personality. I've seen from her gifts that she is high energy and she's about that coffee lifestyle. Love her. And then her jacket just screams culture. She's from Peru, and we can see that just written all over her, especially with her headpiece. Just so many great colors. Love her accessories, love the fringe from the jacket, and just the intricate design. But what is going on here? She's gone full hip hop. Like, I'm getting like hip hop girly vibes from this strong. With the boots that are a bit chunkier and more platform, like she has the range. But it's still within like a kind of casual movement athletic zone. And so I just love that there's that consistency, even if the aesthetics are a bit different. Body confident queen, gold jacket, just wow. And love that fishnet cutout component to the pants. Like, oh my God. It just is so freaking good with the accessories and the cap. Like, she's got it going on. Raven, once again, like, it's just a bodysuit structure and composition. We've seen this before, but it's just the level of the details that are just like, wow, like, oh my gosh. Just the swirls, the lines, the dots, and just how it just so differentiated from clothing item to clothing item. We can clearly see well-defined boots, knee pads, pants, vest, arm guards. Like, it's all just so well fragmented, but then obviously so cohesive because we have consistent design elements to bring it all together. So when I saw Bryan's profile pic, I was like, we love some strong body confidence coming at us full force. I'm here for it. But then I was like, fashion, but it's in the pants. What is going on with these pants with the diverse textures? We're getting a little bit of reptilian again, some snake skin, some ridged, some studs. And the pattern, not usually one for skull motif, but like, it's just the way it blends in with the pants and like the overall texture is incredible. And even just the straps around his arms and wrists is just a little different. But what is happening here? Like, the use of gold is, oh my God, it's ecstasy in this freaking game. Black and gold. And I think he still has a little bit of like a skull motif, but this is skull. This is edgy, raw in your face, like grunge, next level. This is just proof that you can elevate any sort of aesthetic. There's really no excuse. That's why when people are so apprehensive towards something that's so elite and high fashion, it's just like, but you're still getting your grungy alternative aesthetic. Oh, just the jacket is just something else. And then we have boots that coordinate perfectly with some gold hardware in the soles, like, and the heel. What? Claudio is yet another character giving us just such a fresh, elite, white ensemble with belt and buckle details. But then I love the kind of cascading tails or extensions that come off with additional hardware, but just with some additional, like, interesting lining as well. Like, so many layers and movement and drama to these looks. But of course, it's just the combination of the gold with the white that just feels so fresh. I said in Arcane with one of the characters how like The red, gold, and white together just feels a little more youthful, feels a little more open, energetic, like refreshing, and that's the same type of vibe we're getting here. I even like something a little bit more kind of dulled and gray like this. Is even with some black thrown in, it still feels opulent, luxurious, and expensive, but it just gives us more dimension, more kind of drama with the length of the coat. A little bit more simple, but just enough within like the upper body and some of those kind of gold trim details and the design to make it interesting. And love this. Once again, a flex in range. Like, it still feels like we're in a little bit vicinity to some of those previous looks, like just with a little bit more of a collar to the top and some of that gold trim detail to kind of still root us in something that has some elite flair, but it just feels so much more athletic and rugged and fighter. And especially with all the leather texture that I think is now incorporated in this, a great use of asymmetry once again. Oh my gosh. And then just the blue in this case feels so fitting. I don't know why, I just really am digging the blue a bit more in this design. Belt and buckle details, you already know. Hwoarang, I'm really just highlighting it because of a couple outfits, including this one. This is such a fun alternative aesthetic that's honestly such a big contrast to his default. His default's definitely very basic attack, but this is just such a super move in a different, loud way. The graffiti, the paint kind of design and marks on top just gives it so much more pop, so much more punch. And he has suspenders hanging off the waist. I love suspenders hanging off the waist. And the eye patch is a nice touch. A little over the top, but it works with everything else. And I like this outfit too. It almost reminds me, and I can't remember the character's name from Street Fighter that everybody thought was so tacky and was such a clash, but he also had like a jacket around his shoulders like this. But I feel like this is done in a much more kind of like tamed down, not so extra maximalist way. And I like that it's like chain, like really thick black chain hardware, keeping that jacket in place. The rest of it is pretty casual, but I do like that how some of the design on one of the cuffs of the pants coordinates well with the design on the shirt. And the boots are also really interesting in this one. Could have gone without the eye patch though. Emilie is giving us that just glamorous, cutesy, ruffled, I want to say Victorian, but like I always default to that descriptive word alone. Just unapologetically girly style. Really love how that kind of neck scarf that she has just has such a strong vibrance in red, just for a little bit of extra attitude beyond just the softness in the rest of her outfit. But it's really the boots and the stockings that are just like super cute and a really nice contrast to the dress that she's wearing. It just feels so much more fighter, so much more combat, but still also cutesy and well decorated with like a bow and some lace in the stockings. But love that she has a bit more of that sassy bite to her with something that's like this, black stockings with even some kind of garter belts, great silver heels, and even like a nice shiny metallic oriented dress. Great body confidence in the chest and some fur texture. And I believe this one was her Tekken 7 look, and she's been rocking with this kind of cutesy glamour girl style for a while. And I like how the boots and the stockings have maintained some of that kind of more sporty, kind of casual street edge, but just the dress is really always going there. Full elaboration, full ruffle, full fantasy. Asuka is easily one of my favorite girl looks in this whole thing. It's a little bit of Prep Academy, but just with the modern differentiated twist that I've been like desperately looking for from some of these outfits. They always go pleated skirt with like some sort of bow and then like the sweater and the colored shirt, but we're just getting a longer dress orientation here. And I just love the belt, the magenta belt buckle details in the arms or the sleeves. Like, such an effortlessly easy way to make this so differentiated. Why? It's not hard. That's why I'm just like, it just takes a little imagination. And I like this. Effortless. Just so effortless. Like, all it is some short shorts and some boots and like a really nice statement top. But you don't have to do too much. Like, great composition, great body confidence. Leroy has that ish on. Like, wow. So luxurious. The big gold chains and just a little bit of the short sleeve rolled up that feels a little bit more like cool and chill and laid back despite how outrageously expensive he looks. Like amazing gold details. Love the pants and that reptile texture to it. But dang, it's that gold. The gold is just shining through his sunglasses. Like he is the definition of cool. Like when you look it up, you see Leroy chilling right there. Dang. Like I want the whole thing. I love that this is like B-boy, and I've said this, like a nice 80s, 90s throwback, but it just feels like a little bit more modern with like, I think the tracksuit orientation. Something about the cut of the jacket and just the overall design feels like so much more today. It doesn't feel as throwback. So I love that he's able to transcend decades with his style. And he can even go cultural. Like he can even go a little bit more typical cultural design. Like he has the skills, the capabilities, but he still has that gold chain to root him in a little bit more of his identity and culture, I would even say. Like the pants, love a pair of red pants. He is opulence. He is high class. He is high fashion. Ling also manages to dabble in something that feels cultural and traditional, especially for a kind of more cutesy Chinese character like her. But it just feels like there's enough combination of clothing items to make it feel a little bit more progressive, a little bit more out of the cookie cutter. If she didn't have the robe or the kind of jacket on top, it would feel a little like on the nose. But then I love the kind of feather details that she has. Like it's permeated all throughout from top to bottom, a nice design element consistent throughout to help us scan and appreciate the full scope of this ensemble. And love this with that really interesting red lining. Purple kind of feathers in the hair is a little bit of like I think we're getting a little bit of a clash in my opinion, but I do like, once again, that the feathers are just such a consistent element within her personal style and the length and the drama of the top that she's wearing. It provides a really great silhouette. I haven't used the word silhouette too much quite yet. And this almost feels like a little bit of like a Christmas twist. Like it's feathers once again, but it feels like the kind of Christmas fur against the red that we would typically see. It's like she's one of Santa's little helpers, but just with her own kind of personal style twist to it. I just love the elegance coming from June's, even though it feels a little bit more laid back and fighter-esque. I love the corset belt that she has around her waist. Her sleeves have such great, interesting bow and just like open kind of flared detail to them. And there's like great lace detail towards the bottom of her pants and her socks. Like it feels a little kind of cutesy, but also very mature and refined and distinguished at the same time. And even though the color palette's just a complete contrast, black and white, I feel like there's chunks of it permeated throughout the outfit in ways that makes it feel kind of varied and kind of changed up to not feel too flat and one-dimensional. Nina's outfit is one that immediately stood out to me. I love the contrast between the dress that she's wearing with incredible fringe, especially for more of like a silky textured garment, but then it's the jacket on top with some rugged leather paired with the sunglasses and the gloves. Like what an interesting like relationship between these two different aesthetics coming together to be completely something of her own. So elegant, but just also so rugged at the same time. And the peak of cleavage that we're getting is perfect. Love how we're just getting nice peaks of skin. Once again, a woman who feels put together, high class, and sexy, but without having to show all the skin at once. This one's almost kind of giving me like Kill Bill, like Bride, Revenge of the Bride kind of vibes. I love that. And we know that she can pull off something as glamorous and elegant and regal as this, but then just with those utility elements incorporated, again, a nice contrast with something rugged and something softer and feminine. But I love this one. This also feels just effortlessly chic and something that honestly could be a bit everyday, maybe outside of a few of the extra band and buckle and utility components. It's really just the scarf that adds a little extra touch of fashion here that brings it outside of something that could just be such a basic, like alternative look. It just adds a nice pop of pattern, a nice little extra pop of color, and just a nice differentiated texture and fabric from something that's maybe a bit more kind of canvas in the jacket and like leather in the pants. great. But Eddy really stood out to me. Brazil. And we can clearly see that in some of the key colors coming out from his outfit. It once again does feel a little bit of like a fighter-esque type of style and composition that I've seen before, but it's just the design and the texture of the materials. It feels almost a little metallic and silky and just really shines and just adds a little extra touch of flamboyance, color and pattern wise, beyond just being a bit more of a standard, very masculine look. It just feels very form fit and athletic. But oh my gosh, like this one is so good. Another animal print jacket that is just so fashion, like gosh damn. And then like the tank, just to show some great body confidence, but also really help his strong chain hardware accessories shine through. Like easy coordination, but just so sharp and fits him perfectly. I want this whole outfit, but this was the one that really did it for me. Like I want that jacket outrageously bad. So luxurious. Purple's already royal, but then just with all of the gold details incorporated. And I think that the shoes are red. So another character going with the red, purple, and black. We already know how this goes. But it's just that jacket, like the texture between the padded quilted kind of shoulders down to the sleeves and the fur collar. Like, wow. Just 10, 10, 10. Quite a range and full spectrum of fashion that we got absolutely fed with, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Please do let me know what some of your favorite outfits were, and where there's some characters that just served like the absolute hardest KO across the board. Would love to hear it. But of course, until the next video, I'll talk to you later.